Hello and welcome back to the Rock and Roll Show, where we've got a very special guest today, Ulster Rugby player turned BUCS Super Rugby star, Rory Telfer. Rory, welcome to the show. How are you getting on?
Thanks for having me. I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, that's good. Rory plays for Durham University in the BUCS Super Rugby division. So we're having an interview today to talk about all things in his career and moving over to Durham and playing in BUCS Super Rugby, the highest level of University Rugby in Great Britain. So we'll start off with, I guess, BUCS this year. Rory, obviously coming over from being at Queen's University Belfast and Ulster to coming over the Irish Sea and joining up into the madness of BUCS Super Rugby. How have you sort of found your year in it and sort of the transition?
It's been great. I've kind of heard about it before I came over. I knew a few lads that had gone over and played BUCS Rugby, and they've always knew it was. And heard it's an exciting league and it's a good brand of rugby. I kind of knew that coming over. It was quite exciting. I heard good things, and yeah, I've loved it this year so far. Us Durham, we're sitting in fourth at the minute, a few games to go. So it's been good so far, and like I heard about how competitive it was, in terms of anyone in the league being able to beat any team, and how up and down it is, and I've experienced that firsthand. Doesn't matter who you're playing, like it sounds cliche to say, doesn't matter who you're playing, but you could be playing top of the league or bottom of the league, and it's just as 50-50 if you win the game or not. Like it's small margins, and it's very fast as well. It's something I kind of noticed the change in. I guess you're playing students, you're playing lads that are the same age as you. It's similar to kind of schoolboy rugby in terms of the speed of play is crazy. It's like I said, end to end. You score a try and then concede 5 minutes later, 2 minutes later. So no, it's exciting to be a part of it as a back. It's been great fun so far.
Yeah, well, it's definitely something I've noticed even covering the division the past couple of years, of going down to Cardiff University games and stuff like that. It's absolute madness, to be honest, and it's a great atmosphere as well when you get all the boys from the rugby club down, I'm sure. But we'll move it back, Rory, to talk about the start of your rugby journey. Would you like to sort of tell us how you got into rugby initially? Was it minis, or was it in school, or what? How did you get into the game?
I started rugby about five. I was 5 or 6, just in the local mini. So I was from Ballymoney. You know it well. So I started minis there when I was 5 or 6. My brother, he played there before me, so it kind of felt natural. Started there, about 5 or 6. Played all the way through. And then secondary school, played for my school, Corey and Grammar. Played for them all the way through again, 7 years. I loved my time there. Schoolboy rugby's kind of the best rugby you'll play. It was good fun. And then basically, in upper sixth, I found out I'd basically got a place in the Ulster Academy. So leaving school, I kind of knew I'd have a couple of years in the Ulster Academy. So left school and then had three years in the Ulster Academy, which was great. Was lucky enough to get a few caps for the senior team as well, which was class. And then there last summer, basically, I left Ulster. Unfortunately, it's kind of the way pro sport is. It doesn't work out the way you want it to sometimes. So I didn't get at the end of my academy, I didn't get a senior contract there. And then basically the opportunity kind of came up to come over. Sire coach, I spoke to him, and the opportunity came up to come over here and play BUCS Rugby for a year and study, get a master's. So it kind of made sense for me, and that's us up to date from now.
That's a pretty good rundown. Well, I mean, moving it back into that schools rugby, you speak about the fast-paced nature of it, and then how you can compare that to university rugby as well. What do you think? Could you highlight any sort of, I guess, key moments that you sort of in your early days at Ballymoney and then Coleraine, coaches maybe, or maybe sort of matches, where you sort of were like a big turning points in terms of developing your passion for the game and also your rugby game itself? Yeah,
and plenty of moments from school and I'd say probably in school, probably the school's cup and like medallion shield. So that's when you're about 15. You're playing just with your best mates, like those. I remember around that age, about 14, 15, like just playing in those cup competitions, and how much it meant to, I guess, the school and your friends, and it's basically your life when you're that age. And I think I knew kind of back then that I kind of, if I put my all into it, I could hopefully get something out of it. And I guess back then it was just enjoyment's a big factor, like you're playing with your friends, and I just absolutely loved it. And in the schools cup we played in 5th year, so I was 5th year. My first year in the schools cup, just before COVID obviously hit, we played Sullivan at home, and it was a pretty stacked Sullivan team. I remember they had Harry Sheridan, who's playing for Ulster at the minute, Conor McKee's playing for Ulster at the minute, a few others as well, and we were pretty big underdogs, and we ultimately lost. But I remember we went 14-0 up early on, and I remember I was lucky to score. I scored 2 tries to start the game, which was pretty ideal. I remember I was really nervous before the game, and then the crowd and things like that. There, you've got your friends playing with you, your friends watching, and just that kind of just atmosphere. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, well, it's. I think that was something I was going to touch on actually, because obviously, if you know about Ulster schools, so you know you've got your big teams. You got your Campbells, you got your Methodies, Belfast Ints. You know, all these big sides. Wallace is another one, and I guess Coleraine. It's not always you are usually those on the underdog in that. What would you say you learnt from that sort of experience in terms of mentality, and I guess going into preparing for games, and how you've sort of taken that, I guess, mental approach forward into your career?
It's a great point. Like, I think, well, at the minute, to be fair, Coleraine things are starting to change. Like, they've got Kieran Campbell in there at the minute, and he's starting to change things, and they're on their way up. They're going to be like a quality side in a few years, I'd say. But coming from when we were sort of, when I was in school, like, you were kind of seen as the underdog, and it's quite good in terms of, like, you've nothing to lose in those, like, big games and things like that there. And then obviously, like, individually, as well, from an individual point of view, like going into, I guess, Ulster early on, when I was in Ulster's 3rd year, 4th year, I think, so 15 or 16. Like, I remember going, like, my first couple of sessions, just, like, not much confidence, because, like, you think all the big Belfast schools, all the Belfast boys and stuff like that are at training and stuff, and you think they're bigger, they're better than you, and you just kind of, what I learned kind of early on was just to back myself, and not just, it's just rugby at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what school you go to or whatever. If you back yourself enough and you work hard enough, you can be just as good as anyone. So I think just, backing yourself, like, as from a team perspective as well, it's actually, I kind of like being the underdog in terms of games. Like this year, for example, like, I love playing against Loughborough and Exeter when you're not really expected to win. I think that kind of brings out the best of us as a Durham side as well. So, like, we're buzzing, hopefully get into the playoffs and see where we can go from that end as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a big thing, in terms of developing that mentality, and it's great that you can sort of relax into it and sort of be yourself, because I think when that personality comes across in the pitch, that's such a huge thing. But you talk about the sort of the Ulster edge grade and moving into that sort of like the end of your time at Coleraine. Would you highlight sort of any key sort of coaches or I guess match moments you had during that period where you sort of I guess you key points of development, I suppose?
So I'd say, I think around COVID was quite important for me. Like, I remember up to COVID, I was doing well kind of with Ulster. I played under 18s, trying to think, 2019 summer I think it was. Played under 18s a year up, and like things were going well, and then kind of 5th year had a good season, and then kind of COVID hit, and that's when things kind of changed, like, in terms of, like, from my perspective, like, when we went into COVID, like, after it was, a lot of things had changed. Like, the lockdown summer, we were like there was only a select few who were allowed to kind of train in bubbles and things like that there, and I was lucky enough to be a part of that, which kind of allowed me to train with the academy and things like that there a lot younger than I would have. So yeah, I had a lot of important coaches back then, such as like Johnny Gillespie in Ulster, Aidan McNulty in Ulster. Those are Ulster coaches. Alvin Hogg. Yeah, I could list loads. Richard Boyd is my school coach. Like they were all very important around that that time. Around the back end of COVID. After COVID hit, I kind of noticed a lot of physical developments and like my rugby as well. I noticed it getting a lot better from the coaching I was getting, and I was able to get coaching, and obviously like small things like we weren't in school and stuff an awful lot that second year, when I was lower sixth because of COVID, but I was still able to go up to Belfast, train 3 times a week up in New Forge. Like that was class for me, and having those coaches and the coaching I had around that stage was amazing, and I think I wouldn't be where I am now without it. So I'd say those 3 coaches during that time was crucial in sort of my development, just when I was still in school, basically.
Well, that's a really interesting point, because I think a lot of people probably going into COVID, they probably don't have very fond memories of it, with locking down and having to stick to the house. But I guess in every sort of crisis there is, you have a bit of opportunity there, and it's great that you've taken that opportunity forward with you. Moving into your time at sort of obviously coming out of school, you went to Queen's University Belfast for 3 years and played for them. Obviously they play currently in the Division 1B in the All Ireland League. So playing for them, and then obviously developing in the Ulster Academy. How did you find that period in terms of studying alongside sort of the hectic nature of the Ulster Academy?
Yeah, it was tough, but I kind of knew leaving school going into it, like what it's like trying to balance both training and studying full time. Last year, my final year was tough with things like dissertations and things like that there. But yeah, it's you've got quite a busy week, and you have to kind of keep on top of it, because if you're not training, you're at class, and if you're not at class, you're training, and then you throw in assignments and things like that there, and socialising, and yeah, it's every week was kind of hectic. Yeah, no, it was like I was training. We'd be training basically full time with Ulster on a Monday and a Tuesday, and then you'd usually have a Wednesday off. That's when I'd have kind of most of my uni class, and like Queen's were great in terms of flexibility and things like that. I was able to get quite a lot of class often moved to a Wednesday. If there was different classes on a Wednesday, I was able to go to them and things like that there. So I was able to kind of fit it around my rugby, which was good. So it was good to get that kind of balance. But yeah, it was tough kind of balancing both of them, but no, I came out the other side, thankfully. So.
Mm-hmm. And you played in the All Ireland League for Queens. So how do you sort of compare those sort of leagues from playing BUCS Super Rugby now to playing in the All Ireland League with, I guess, the more senior rugby players?
Yeah, no, I've had this kind of conversation a lot recently. Boys asking like what's it like compared to, and like that's the thing. I'm trying to put my finger on it. Like I can't even. It's so different. Like it feels like nearly a different kind of rugby. Like I remember playing for Queens in 1B, and I'd say that the obvious thing that's probably different is, I'd say you're playing against grown men in the All Ireland League. Like you're playing against lads that are 20, 30 years old, and it's, I'd say, probably more physical. The All Ireland League, like your collisions and things like that there, but I'd say with BUCS, and something I learned very quickly, is it's a lot quicker, because it's less kind of, playing against fully grown men, it's slightly less physical, but the speed is just a lot different, and it's a lot quicker, and you have to make decisions that are a lot different. And from a personal perspective, like I've loved it in terms of experience something new in my game. Like it's brought out like different sides of my game, which I maybe haven't brought out in the last couple of years, which has been nice, just with the way the speed is, the speed of play, and as a back as well, it's very exciting to play in. I'd say that the speed in BUCS is a lot quicker. It's a great brand of rugby, and I'd say it's probably just more slightly physical. The All Ireland League in Ireland, and slightly slower, but it's still a great standard, and it's still very, very physical.
I suppose it's very good for you to get those two sort of comparison points and get a wee bit more physicality, and then you get the speed as well. A key thing that I sort of looked at when I was researching for this was the Ireland under-20s in 2023, obviously winning the Grand Slam and getting to the final of the Under-20 World Championship, playing with guys like Sam Prendergast, James McNabney, who obviously you'll know very well from Ulster, and then Gus McCarthy as well, who captained the side for the Slam. How did you find that experience, I guess, playing with boys from Leinster, from Munster, from Connacht, alongside Ulster, and sort of competing against those teams from around the world, basically? And
yeah, no, it was great. Yeah, I guess I forgot to mention it there. So when I left school, that was my under-20s year, that first year out of school, and I guess at the time when you're training with those lads and playing with those lads, like you mentioned, you kind of, they're your teammates and things like that there, so you don't really realise how good a team you have until it's kind of a few years down the line, and you can look at the team sheet and see some of the names on it. So we had a pretty gifted team, like you said, all those names you mentioned, Prando, McNabney. There's good few 3-4 lads already capped by Ireland. And yeah, I'd say probably leaving school, it was exciting training and playing in that team, but also it was, I guess you kind of, back to that self-confidence point, it's, those lads obviously are great talented players and we had such a great team, but it was tough at times as well, training and things like that there, because you're obviously competing for positions, and it was some of those sessions were the toughest sessions I've done in terms of preparing for the Six Nations, preparing for the World Cup, and also the coaching staff as well that we had was unbelievable. We had Richie Murphy and Mark Sexton, who are obviously the Ulster coaches now, and they were pushing us in training and things like that there. It was, at the time, you didn't really realise, well, for me anyway, didn't realise how good a squad you actually had until you're out of it. And even small things I remember there's something up recently about the French under-20s our year again when we played France in the Six Nations. Their team sheet, their 12, 13, 14, 15 was the same numbers that were playing for the senior team, and they're our year, so that just shows how quickly they develop over there.
What were those names, out of curiosity?
There was Deeper. I can't pronounce it properly.
Deeper
Terre. Yeah, the 13. Louis Billy Barry.
The
Theo,
one, Atasogbe.
the fullback for France. Theo, I forget a second. Atasogbe, him as well.
My last name's Gaston, Rory, so the French pronunciation, I have to make sure I'm getting it right.
yeah. But no, it was crazy.
Yeah, well, there are some absolutely crazy names on there when you mention it. But could you? I know it's probably a big topic of discussion right now in terms of around Irish rugby. Sam Prendergast, obviously, he's always in the headlines, whether he's in the 10 jersey or he's not in the 10 jersey. I think we'll all have our own opinions about sort of what deficiencies he could have in his game, but also the great stuff he really has in his game. Could you sort of describe, I guess, for the viewers, what it was like to play with Sam and sort of his qualities you found with playing with him? Yeah,
so I first played with Sam under 19s. It was Irish under 19s camp. Remember we had a camp down in Dublin. I actually roomed with him then in under 19s before under 20s, and that was before he kind of had established himself. But he's great. He's so talented. He's so talented, and he's also, I guess, you talked about the stuff online and things like that there. He's a great lad as well. That's what people maybe don't know as well. He's so down to earth. And he's incredibly hard working as well. And I remember some of the things he sees in the pitch no one else really sees. And I remember once in a training session, we were training, I was on the wing, and he was obviously out half, and I remember I was just out the wing kind of semi-daydreaming. I remember I was just kind of watching the play inside me, watching the play was at the other side of the pitch, and the play's going on. We're going through a few phases, and I'm like on the wing, like on the touchline. And I remember like looking at Sam, like trying to see what he's like, how he looks. He scans. Not once did he look outside him, like towards me in the wing or whatever. He was so focused inside him, and he went through 3, 4, 5 phases, and then randomly just he got the ball without even looking, puts on his foot for a crossfield kick, and like he'd seen that space before I'd even seen it, and I was on the wing, and I could, like, by the time I noticed it, the ball was already in the air, and that just shows how he can just see things and process things so quickly, and in his attacking game is just next level, and I think that's, I guess, an example of it. And obviously, like, he knows himself, he's probably got things to work on defensively, and like I'd say a lot of young players do, but no, I couldn't speak more highly of him.
Yeah, well, I think that's a perfect example. It's like we had Bruce Houston on in the summer on this show, and we were talking about sort of very high, I guess, very high profile as well, Blair Kinghorn, and sort of little things that he was sort of saying and training with him and stuff like that. And it's good to hear their stories, and I think that's key. Like Sam Prendergast, that's the one thing you'd say about him. From an attacking perspective, he just sees things that just other players don't see, and I'm sure he's got a very bright future ahead of him still. But you mentioned Richie Murphy and Mark Sexton, obviously the two Ulster coaches. I think we've all sort of seen it this year with the Ulster attack. It's been incredibly dynamic, scoring tries for fun, the improvement of their form and stuff like that. And then Richie, obviously, I was reading that you were talking about Richie in an interview last year, and he'd given you his your first cap for Ulster, and the positive atmosphere he gives and sort of how great a man manager is. I guess with those two coaches, would you have any sort of things to say about how each of them helped you personally in your development?
Yeah, so I just had Mark under 20s. I'd obviously left by the time he came up to Ulster, so I haven't had him since under 20s, but obviously had Richie under 20s, and then obviously up at Ulster as well. So Richie had a pretty good relationship with Richie. Like he's a quality coach. He knows an awful lot about the game. And I guess under 20s he was great. Like we obviously had such a talented team, so there's a lot of competition for places, and I guess I didn't sometimes start as much as I would have liked back then, and I kind of learned back then that you just have to get on with what you're doing and get on with working hard and keeping diligent, and your opportunity will come. And then when he came up to Ulster, I kind of just applied the same logic, and when my opportunity kind of came with injuries and things like that, there he was supportive. He was backing of me, which was nice. And obviously Mark as well. He's an unbelievable coach as well. Like under 20s, some of the detail and the things we went into in training and reviews, and it was just it was his next level. I didn't experience anything until those two coaches, in terms of the detail required to make it, and the detail required to be a successful team is next level. They were both very important.
Mm-hmm. You always read about it and you hear about it. It's like the rugby players that you're very, very busy, obviously, but the rugby coaches, you have to seriously love rugby. You got to seriously be into it, because it takes up all hours of your day. And you mentioned that detail. I think you can sort of see that with sort of what Richie and Mark have done, and it's great to hear how they've helped you as well. But you touched briefly about how you got your opportunity under Richie Murphy, and that was obviously last season. First appearance was as a sub against the eventual Champions Cup winners, Bordeaux Begla, at home. That's it's Kingspan. It's the Affadea Stadium now. It keeps changing names. But sort of describe, I guess, that experience coming on in the biggest stage of club rugby for the club you supported, I would imagine, your whole life, against, I guess, the might of the opposition as well.
Yeah, no, it was. We obviously were unfortunate with the result. I didn't get too long, to be fair. I only got 10 minutes, but even then, like, the whole day and the whole game, it's a bit of a blur even looking back. Like, I'm trying to think. I just remember that the atmosphere that day was amazing. I remember like we were in the game for maybe 60 minutes. Like it was a tight enough game, given the opposition, like their quality side last year. And yeah, I just remember watching the game, being so nervous, hoping to get on, but like just very nervous. And there was a few times. I think it was Zach Ward's debut as well. We both making our debut that day. He was starting. He maybe went down early with an injury, and I thought it was going to come on early, but then he seemed to shake it off. So yeah, no, I was delighted to get 5 or 10 minutes. Just remember hearing that it was coming on. Obviously, by that stage the game was over, but I was just delighted to get on. Yeah, obviously had family at the game. Mum and dad were at the game, and a few mates as well. So, yeah, no, it felt class. Like obviously growing up supporting Ulster, it's always the dream. It's always been the dream to play for Ulster, and you put in a lot of hours, a lot of work. And 3 years in the academy, and yeah, it was special to finally get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who was your opposite number when you came on?
I came on fullback. I think it must have been. I know Penno was playing, and Louis Billy was playing as well. So it could have been one of them. I don't know I can't remember who the other winger was, but yeah, no, I don't even think I touched the ball. I don't think I even had to touch the ball, but no, it was still special just to get on.
Yeah, I'm sure you made a couple of tackles anyway. If it's Bordeaux, the way they like to attack. You have to keep up with them. Well, that's great. It's always I had Bruce Houston on, as I mentioned. It's great to sort of hear that first hand experience of coming on, for your boyhood club. You made 4 appearances last year, including a start against Connacht, which you won obviously 17 points to 7. I was reading how you came up against Mac Hansen in that game as well. What was that experience like? Coming on from the start, playing that game against, I guess, the big Ireland internationals, and then coming out with a victory alongside obviously good teammates and James McNabney and co.
Yeah, no, that game was probably my highlight of my time at Ulster. It was like, it's obviously different from being on the bench. Being on the bench, you kind of there's a chance you might not get on, or that you might not get much time or much touches, but at the start of that week, it was around kind of Christmas time. At the start of that week, I knew it was starting, and I knew I could kind of get focused on the game. And then I think it was the 27th of December, so it was just after Christmas. We went down to Galway, and yeah, I think we were underdogs going into it. I think, and yeah, I remember seeing on the bus on the way down, the team sheets got released, and seeing that I was on the left wing, number 11, and seeing the Connacht right wing was Mac Hansen. So it was pretty cool, but also quite nerve-wracking as well. Someone you watch and playing for Ireland and things like that there, and you're maybe playing for Queens, and then a couple of weeks later you're opposite him. But now it was a class experience, and a few touches and a few tackles against him. So
I was looking at your LinkedIn actually, and I was looking at the highlight reel that you had, and one of those, I think you nearly skinned him on the inside. I think he just about got you, but you were nearly away. Like, so, I mean, that would have been
I nearly got away. I remember that. Yeah, he just held on. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a line break, but I did well, to be fair.
Yeah, no, he's a good defender, so I wouldn't feel too bad about it, to be fair. But those 4 appearances, obviously big for you, and pulling on the Ulster jersey as many times as you can is obviously for you is a pleasure. Not getting that professional contract at the end of your academy time. Tough moment, I'd imagine, for you, and then sort of trying to make the decision of where to go next. What did you sort of learn in sort of total from your time in the Ulster Academy, and sort of, I guess, processing that at the end of your time?
Yeah, so that was my 3rd year. So I played those 4 games, and then a few lads came back from injury, things like that there. And then it was around February time I kind of found out, I knew it was around start of February, I found out there was no basically senior contract for the next year. That's kind of when you find out things like that there. So yeah, obviously at the time it was was hard to hear. Like, that was obviously the aim coming through, and the aim in my final year was to hopefully get a development contract or push on. But just the way it is with pro sport, and especially just the strength and depth as well of your position. Ulster's back threes stacked. Like, you've got Mikey, Rob Balakin, Stockdale, Werner, Ethan McElroy. Like, I can name loads of them. So I guess I kind of knew that there was a lot of depth in my position, so I could kind of understand at the time. Like, yeah, like, I think I didn't really process it at the time in like start of February, and then I was focused on finishing uni and getting uni done, so I didn't really think about it too much until the season finished in June. And yeah, that was when it kind of, over the summer was tough. Like, obviously you've time off and you've time to think and you've time to process things, and yeah, it was a tough few months. And at that stage I hadn't got a club sorted for next year, or I didn't really have a clue what I was going to do. Like, I remember my mum, my parents were wondering what I was going to do too, and I didn't know, and that's why end of August was when it came up, and I hadn't even considered playing BUCS or anything like that there. It was just the end of August, a text came through, would I be interested in coming over and playing BUCS and getting a Masters and things like that there, and then it just was the perfect thing for me, the perfect opportunity. Decided to go for it, and yeah, I haven't looked back since, and I'm loving my rugby this year, loving it. That was a big thing for me this year, was just to get back to kind of enjoying playing rugby, enjoying the things you kind of enjoyed from school, I guess, just kind of getting those things back into your game, and I've definitely done that this year. And the BUCS exciting league, the students at every game, like, it's class. Like,
yeah, I suppose it's taking you back to those school days where you I guess found your passion for rugby, with playing with your mates and having those big occasions with just like everyone around, and the atmosphere is great. And sort of, I guess, the local some local derbies in there as well, I suppose. But like, moving over to Durham, obviously you're doing your masters now, in the BUCS Super Rugby division. Durham University, generally a very good side in the division. They've won it twice, a couple of years ago. You're sitting fourth, obviously. Haven't played, I think it's every single game you've played this season? Yeah,
I've been quite lucky. I've played every minute of every game, so touch wood. It'll hopefully continue. So no, I've been quite lucky with injuries and stuff.
Yeah, and it looks like you've sort of played across the back line quite a bit. You've played a bit at 13, bit at fullback, sort of near the start of the season, a lot on the wing as well. How have you found, I suppose, the fluidity of playing in different positions, and then as you say, for you as a player that's very fast and explosive, the style of the league?
Yeah, no, I've kind of, first of all, I've enjoyed playing different positions. Like, last couple of weeks I was playing centre, which was quite nice. I played centre in school, but I haven't played it since school. And then, yeah, like you said, I'd started the season at fullback, and then I've really enjoyed most of the season being on the wing, which I've really enjoyed. Enjoyed the kind of freedom you get on the wing, being able to work off your wing and go and try and get a few touches and get your hands on the ball. But no, as a back, like I said, like I've loved the way pretty much every game's kind of gone. In terms of this league, like, BUCS is such a fast, free flowing league. Like, even if you're playing a side that have strengths in their forwards, like, the ball always seems to get out to the backs and stuff. And yeah, no, it's been great. Like I said, about the speed of things, the speed of play is very quick, but also the attack as well. I've noticed there's probably a bigger focus on attack, especially in BUCS, because the score lines are so high scoring. You often have to just outscore your opposition, which sounds cliche, but it's often you have to score 5-6 tries a game minimum to win, so it promotes kind of free flowing rugby and plenty of tries, so it's good for the neutral.
Plenty of tries for the LinkedIn showreel, I'm sure.
Not too many, but no, I need to.
Well, plenty, but I'm sure there's been plenty of moments like, it's been playing all those games, I think, and keeping that consistency of playing every week, and starting every minute and playing in a league, but I guess suits your qualities and getting back to enjoying things. You've got 2 games to go. One against, you've obviously just played top of the league against Loughborough, unfortunately missing out late on against the league leaders. You've got 2 games now, one against relegation threatened Swansea, the bottom place side, away from home, which is notoriously an incredibly tough fixture for any team in that division. Swansea really make it a real fight down there. And then you've got Bath at home, which could potentially have implications for the league title. What, I guess, are you looking to see as a team for those 2 games before you go into the cup and the playoffs?
Yeah, no, they're massive for us. Since this kind of block's it's been positive for us since Christmas. Like this side of Christmas, we won our first 2 games, and then we've lost the last 3 in a row. But like, I think that just shows the league. Like, we've played so well in every single game, and we've came out the wrong side of results. So I guess the league table's a lot tighter than it maybe could have been around our position if we won the last couple of games. But that's the way it is in this league. So I think the next game's massive. Away to Swansea is huge for us. We we've been targeting that game. And we know it's a tough place to go. The lads have said like a few lads in the team have lost there over the last couple of years, so we know though they're near the bottom of the league table, like we know it's going to be an incredibly tough game, and we know when we played them at home this year that they give us a game for most of the game as well, so we know they're still a quality side, and then Bath at home to finish the league will be a good one. Like I said, we kind of really enjoy playing the top teams. It seems to bring out the best in us as a team, so we're buzzing for that last home game against Bath, and yeah, they'll have plenty to play for, as you said, if it goes down to the last week. And like another focus is for me anyway, and the way I feel is like, doesn't matter really where you finish in the league in terms of, obviously you want to win the league, but in terms of playoffs, anyone can beat anyone on their day. Like I've experienced that first time, or like any team we've played this year, like it doesn't matter if you're home, you're away, it doesn't matter. So we're trying to win as many games as we can in the running, but at the same time we're confident that whoever we get in the quarterfinal, if we get there, like we're gonna give it our all regardless of who it is. So we're buzzing for the running.
Well, you're in that pole position, I suppose, to get that home quarter-final against whatever team, potentially 3rd or 4th there. But I think there's is such a fascinating league when you sort of say about how sort of tight it is between all those different teams. In terms of next week's game, just before we sort of move on to talk about the playoffs a bit, or sort of, I guess, sort of ambitions and stuff like that. We've got Bath Loughborough next week. You've obviously played both of them this season. That's going to most likely decide the league title, with them 1 point separating the 2 of them. What team do you think is going to come out on top next week, if you were to make a prediction?
It's a tough one. Is it, who's at home? Is it Bath or is it?
It's Bath at home.
Bath at home. And that is a tough one. Like we played Bath away. Like they were a quality side. I think they were 19-0 up against us away. We managed to come out with the win, but I'd say, like, after playing Loughborough, like, they're such a clinical side. Like they score every time they enter your 22. It's such a tough one, but I'd say I back Loughborough. I think.
Yeah, there we go. You'll be playing Bath on the final day. It could potentially still be open, no matter what result it is, but either way, but it's a fascinating one, obviously, with those teams so tight. And then, as you say, a lot of stuff still to be decided. I think there's obviously the league title, which goes to the top place team in the league, and then you've also got the BUCS Milk Championship as well, which will be contested through playoffs. That one usually, it seems to get a wee bit more bragging rights, I suppose, given the playoff nature of it. That'll be at Rodney Parades, the home of the Dragons. In terms of looking towards that, for Durham specifically, what parts of your game do you think you want to sort of continue on that you've found good this season, but also things that you want to improve moving into those playoffs?
I'd say like we've had a really good set piece this year. Like it's definitely one of our strengths. Like when we're on it, we've got an amazing scrum, an amazing line out, an amazing maul, coming from a back. But yeah, our set piece has been a real strength, and our set piece kind of gets us into the game, and then our attack as well. Our attack shape is, once it's going, once we can get gain line. Like our attack shape's been class this year at times, and times it hasn't. At the start of the year, it took a while to kind of click. So definitely, those are massive areas of our game, and then our work on's probably our defence and disciplines kind of let us down at times. Seems to be in this league that if teams get into your 22, it's quite hard to stop. It's quite hard to stop them coming away with points. And I know going into playoff games, like that's incredibly important. Is your discipline and not letting teams into your 22 and letting them come away with points. I'd say probably our discipline and our defence will be a kind of wins championships. So I think that's something we can continue to work on.
Yeah, well, that's it'll be very exciting to see with all those teams. As you say, anyone can beat anyone, and it seems particularly tight this year. So yeah, it's going to be a fascinating one to watch. But obviously, you'll be potentially moving on from Durham this year. What would you sort of say you could see yourself doing next in terms of, I guess, a new club, what where do you reckon you sort of like to go next, or where do you reckon you'll end up next?
I'd say it's something that I'm still working out myself, but I think this year has definitely highlighted how I still love playing rugby, and I would love to get a club hopefully for next year, and possibly get back in the pro game at some level, and go from there. So I think that's the main aim and focus. But even saying that, like, I've took every game this year as it comes. I've kind of focused, I'm not got too bogged down on what's next. I've trying to focus on the team and myself and game on game, and just trying to perform as well as I can, and then those kind of things take care of themselves. So just have to see if there's any opportunities come up, and I'm sure I'll hopefully take them.
Yeah. Well, we've got in terms of like looking at different areas, you've got England, English champ. You've got potentially moving back home, over back to Northern Ireland, or even France. There's some players from Ulster who've gone to France. Tustin being one of them, obviously, as I mentioned again. Is there any of those sort of, I guess maybe, obviously you've played in All Ireland League, maybe English Championship or somewhere in France? Would that be something that would interest you, do you think? Yeah,
like in an ideal world, it would be great. I think the idea of France would be pretty cool. Like I know you said Bruce is over there at the minute. He seems to be loving it, and it seems class. Like their brand of rugby, they play at all level. Any league, doesn't matter what league you're in. It's very attacking, very free flowing. So yeah, that would be, in a dream world. Yeah, I would have to scrub up on my French, but yeah, I don't think have to see.
I don't think you've helped yourself with the pronunciation here, but yeah, I'm sure your rugby ability will make up for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, fingers crossed for you, and you can we'll obviously be tuning in to see where you go next. I think it's obviously there's a number of Ulster players that have sort of come across from, obviously myself being an Ulster fan, sort of coming across from there to England, to France. So I think it's very interesting to sort of see sort of how that sort of career progression goes in terms of playing in different leagues. But it's been a pleasure to have you on to hear about your rugby story and hear about your time at Durham as well. And wish you all the best for what comes next, and thanks very much for coming on the show.
Thanks very much, it was a pleasure.